All right. Good evening, all, and soon to be Happy New Year. This is the New Year's Eve live stream, uh, European edition, because we know it's going to be New Year's here in about a half hour. So we thought we'd just jump on with all y'all and say hi. And we got Kenzie was first. Kenzie, where are you from? And then we got Explorer. Of course, Jim's Landscape LLC #1, Commodore Productions. You need a shorter name. And then we got Sasha FXSTSI in Germany. So I guess, is it already New Year's there? Are you 6 hours ahead of us instead of 5? Olive Drab, how are you doing, my friend? Long time. It's good to see you. Brian Simpson, there from from the wilds of Ventura, California. Sean, how are you, my friend? Good to see you again. Yes, everything's going well. We're working away. Gosh, everyone's working away hard on Axanar, which we're really excited about. We are in post-production. So I'll give everyone a little update there. Okay, so it's 12:30 a.m. as the Americans, us Americans would say over in Europe, or in Sasha, or in Germany. So it is already New Year's there. So Happy New Year. We're looking into the future. Germany is in the future. In the year 2025, we are only in 2024, of course. There's TechRat 3D. What do you do? What that sounds like you do 3D printing or 3D design. Tell us what you do, TechRat. Brian Simpson says, "Hail X," or "Hail Brian." Okay, no, it has not been decanonized. We just did a whole video on this. Where were you? Disco has not been decanonized. That is absolutely not the case. If anything, it has been made, which it already did. It already identified itself. That whole Kurtzman universe is a separate reality. It is an alternate reality. That's what it is. Just like the Kelvin universe, the Kurtzman universe is. And let me tell you, but it is still canon. It's still canon. It's just not prime universe. That's kind of we'll talk about that, but it's still canon. So, Brian. Sean says, "I'm doing well, thank you. I confess I'm slightly petrified by the inevitability of 2025. I will remain optimistic subjects to take." Listen, so are we in the U.S. Believe me. TechRat says, "I'm learning to do 3D animation. Good luck to you on that. We'd love to see that." William May says, "Happy New Year, happy William, happy to you." And there's my good man, my left hand. A matter of fact, I've got to get. Let me message Dale. Dale Simpson, my right hand man. Paul, who's Sturm von Alk here, is my left hand man. I guess he is just an amazing volunteer. Let's see if the Messenger works really slowly these days. I don't know about you guys. Oh my God. I gave up the fireworks stand for New Year's. I just didn't want to work it. I was too busy we were traveling, right? We went to New York and all. So a buddy took it over, and I went there to help him today. And a girl came out with the cutest German Shepherd puppy. It was a King Shepherd, she said, but I don't know how old. 6 weeks, 2 months, maybe, I don't know. But it was big and fluffy, and he was so sweet. It was so much fun. Everyone knows how much I love dogs, and German Shepherds and Malinois are some of my faves. All right. Oh, Sturm says they should shoot SSD out of a cannon. Yes, they should. So here, God, we're going to wind up talking about this. So if you haven't seen what took place on matter of fact, I still have it here. I still have which I can open up and we can watch. Let me hold on. Let me. If you didn't watch Lower Decks, there's a scene on Lower Decks, and I'll play it for you guys. Let me play this here, and we can all share and talk about it. Okay. Well, let me pop off your comment, and here's what we saw in.
The rift is surrounded by a Schrödinger possibility field. The S field completely remaps matter into other possibilities from the multiverse.
Okay, without going, well, here I'll show you guys the rest. Okay, so that is the scene. That's the scene from Star Trek Lower Decks. It's a multiverse episode, and there's this rift in the multiverse, and it has a Schrödinger possibility field around it, which, as I said, remaps into matter from alternate universes. So what they're saying, the only thing you can take out of that is that whatever the Lower Decks universe is different than the Discovery universe. Okay, it's two separate realities. Okay, that's what it is. I'm gonna bring in my friend Dale Simpson here. Hey Dale, how you doing, my friend? You need we got to get a better cam, really. Yeah. But so when people say it decanonized Discovery, no, it didn't decanonize it. It absolutely not. The most you can get out of that is that the universe that Lower Decks exists in is different than the universe Discovery exists in. That's all you can get out of it. Now, that being the case, there's nothing that says that Lower Decks is Prime Universe. I mean, and listen, Alex Kurtzman can say all he wants, oh, it's Prime Universe. I have absolutely, we've covered this many, many times. Discovery is not Prime Universe. There's no way it's Prime Universe. And they've just shown, and since Strange New Worlds is part of the Discovery universe, and Strange New Worlds has basically violated canon in a gazillion ways and changed the timeline, we know that Strange New Worlds is not Prime Timeline. That means Discovery's not Prime Timeline, Akiva Goldsman, the showrunner for Strange New Worlds, has come out and said it. He said it in an article. He said, we're just changing things to move things forward. So whatever anyone said, and there've been Giant Freaking Robot had that article. They're full of shit, as they always are. It decanonized. No, it didn't. It did not. It simply said that Lower Decks simply said, we're a different universe than Discovery. That's all they said, because all you've ever seen in Lower Decks is TNG style Klingons, right? And you've never seen Discovery, and that's all that they've said. So, hey, it's a step forward, and I think this whole argument is going to be moot once Skydance takes over. A year from now, they're going to come in and say Kurtzman Universe is an alternate reality. Period. End of story. And listen, there's nothing that says that Prodigy is not an alternate reality and Lower Decks is an alternate. They could all exist in different universes, but they're not Prime Universe. That's kind of established. So how are you doing tonight, Dale? I'd invite Paul, but Paul is so camera shy. Paul's like our secret agent. He's living incognito. So there you go. How are you doing tonight?
Great, man. We just got through with our Christmas Eve Chick-fil-A dinner.
Crystal's making some chicken teriyaki for dinner. We're gonna have after, and yeah. And then she's gonna join me for the East Coast live stream.
Sweet. Yeah. Well, I like what you were saying, because Just because they're not in the same universe doesn't mean they're not canon. They're canon for that universe.
That's right.
It's all Star Trek canon. I mean,
Yep.
the only things that aren't canon are things like books, comic, things that are not part of the TV and movie series. And they specifically said that. And I think there's a few that maybe they have said were canon. I don't know, but yeah, the shows, there's nothing wrong with them being set in alternate. Look at the crossover between Strange New Worlds and Lower Decks. So they're obviously in the same universe.
Well, yeah,
right.
Yeah, and listen, that could still be two separate. Lower Decks could still be a separate universe from Strange New Worlds. It just kind of like the way in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, he goes into a universe that's animated, right?
Right.
Which is funny. So, I think people get there's so much pent-up hatred of Discovery that people then use that hatred to justify anything. And that's not the way it works.
No.
It's all canon because it's all on screen. And listen, as I was pointing out the other day, canon is what the IP holder says it is.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
And there was a time when Paramount said that Star Trek the Animated Series was canon, and
right?
Then they said no, it's not canon. Yeah, now what? Okay, so that's fine. They can make canon whatever. It's just like when Lucasfilm was sold to Disney. Disney came in and said, "Look, all the extended universe stuff is not canon. It just does not exist." Whereas Lucasfilm was kind of encouraging the expanded universe and making it all one. It was expanding on their universe, and that, which I thought was great. But whatever the IP holder, I mean, now Disney is going back and bringing some of that expanded universe in and saying, okay, we like this part or we like that part. Thrawn and Ahsoka and all, whatever. So, people get so wrapped up on that. And I am perfectly happy with the multiverse concept of Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have no problem with that. Yeah, that's right. I mean, listen, that's at least one good thing about Discovery is they gave us Ance as Captain Pike, right? I totally agree with you there. Oh yeah, I love the yeah, I know, I love that. And when the Klingons revert to proto-Klingons, he reverts to a shell, like he came. Their targs came out of the seashells. I thought that was hysterical. But yes, there you go. Yeah, I think that was a nice little piece. Yeah, it was a nice little piece. I agree. And maybe Skydance decides that that's canon. But listen, Axanar's not canon. It's canon for the Axanar universe, right? I mean, we've created our own Star Trek universe with multiple filmmakers making films in the Axanar universe. But then again, listen, if you watch Prelude to X, We Are, the animated puppet parody by Mark Largent, that's not in the Axanar universe, right? That's kind of just a parody comedy film. But it all exists, and I don't think we should all get so wrapped up about what is canon. We should get wrapped up about what is Prime Universe, because that's kind of the sacred timeline, right? Yeah. To use a Marvel analogy.
I've heard or I read that a lot of the critics don't consider Enterprise Prime because they changed the timeline through the Cold War, the temporal Cold War.
The temporal Cold War, yeah. So, I mean, and then people have talked about how Star Trek First Contact changed the timeline.
Yeah.
And a lot of it really depends. I mean, so Star Trek has basically said that you can go back and make changes and the timeline stays the same in the future. As long as, because what happened? I mean, basically Riker and LaForge were on went back in time and helped repair the Phoenix, and were on the launch of the Phoenix. Now, does that change the timeline, or maybe they were always on the Phoenix, right? But in Star Trek, they've kind of basically said that there's one timeline. Now, in the Marvel universe, Marvel says that if you change the timeline, it calls an alternate reality, which is what J.J. Abrams did with Star Trek 2009. He basically said that Narada arriving has changed reality. It's branched off into an alternate reality. And I think that's the way it should be, because we're following the multiverse. I mean, in Marvel, they've got a multiverse. In DC Comics, they have a multiverse. Listen, I was reading DC Elseworlds comics back in, when did they start? In the 80s or 90s?
Yeah, 80s.
Batman by Gaslight, or whatever. The Elseworlds comics were fantastic. And they didn't really say this is an alternate reality. I mean, that's what they were saying. They were basically what if. Marvel had What If back in the 70s. I was reading What If comics. What if Spider-Man had joined the Fantastic Four? I think that was What If number 1. So I'm all about the multiverse.
Well, our favorite Deep Space Nine episode where Cisco goes back to the Bell Watch riots, and is he Bell or isn't he? What happened? I mean, he definitely stepped in, and without him there, it wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, and I love the thing I love about those episodes is back when the Ferengi go back in the past for their episode, and Nog is like, "Hey, look at this! Doesn't this guy look just like Captain Cisco?" I thought that was such a great in joke. I really enjoyed that. But yeah, and I don't think we should get wrapped up around this stuff. I think a multiverse is a good thing. It allows us to tell stories. I mean, I thought the books had a great multiverse, which they sadly destroyed with Coda, the final book in the series, because they were trying to, why they felt the need to bring everything into the Discovery universe, I just thought was absurd. But another bad decision by CBS. Not always known for their best decision making. Let's see. Since Star Trek Discovery are in there, that would include New Voyager. You mean I assume you mean Strange New Worlds. New Voyages is the Star Trek fan film. Okay, Sacha, it's great seeing you. Thanks for coming out. Happy New Year, my friend. There you go. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, listen, I agree with William here. It's all storytelling, right? Yeah. It's all storytelling, and it's all good. Olive Jeff says, I like how Filoni in particular brings in expanded universe stuff. This is Star Wars. Actually does avoid some of the old problems from novels and comics, I guess. Yeah. I mean, here's the beauty of having a Kevin Feige or Dave Filoni in charge of your universe, is that they are such fans that they understand it all, and they've lived it, and they know what the fans like, and they know what works. You bring someone like Kurtzman, I'm not going to bash the guy. I'm just going to say the guy's not a Star Trek guy, all right? He doesn't understand Star Trek. He doesn't live Star Trek. He's not a fan, hasn't been a fan for 50 years. So when he weaves his stories, they absolutely, if he had just said this is a different universe, that would have been fine. We would have said, fine, different universe, just like J.J. Abrams. I mean, no one bitches. I mean, people do bitch about the J.J. verse, but they bitch a lot less lately since they know it's a universe over here. It's not impacting the prime. So it causes less angst on fans. We go, okay, I don't like that universe. That's fine. You can have that opinion. Kurtzman was never one to say that. He wanted us to believe that this was prime Star Trek. Yeah. And we all go, no, it's not. Now, without at the risk of patting ourselves on the back, we at Axanar did exactly what Filoni here did. We said, hey, we're part of the prime universe, It may be slightly different. Maybe it's the Axanar universe because we're not canon, right? But we're going to work within that universe. We're going to make it seem like we're it's very easy to go from Axanar to TOS 20 years later, right? In Prelude, which is supposedly like 10 years after the war, they're all in cage costumes, which is period specific for 10 years before the TOS. So you take a Star Trek person like us, we understand it. We can make all those things work. And then what do the fans say? Oh, that makes so much sense. We love it. It fits right in. It doesn't offend anyone's sensibilities because we're fans and we get it. And that's what Kevin Feige does. And that's what Filoni does at Lucasfilm with Star Wars. And that's kind of what James Gunn is doing at DC, right? He's giving us Guy Gardner Green Lantern with a stupid haircut, right? He's giving us Crypto, even though Crypto is shaggy instead of looking like a lab. So it's all good. We love it, and I think people need to respect the properties that they're entrusted with. All right, let's see what else we got. Oh, we got a lot. Yeah, the Lost Era is something a lot of people like. I did not think that the Next Generation changed the original series at all. Oh, well, okay. Well, that's very good. Donnie, hey, listen, Jimmy Carter, he, if anything, he has proven what an ex-president should be and should do by leading by example. So he's done such wonderful work over the last 40 years. I mean, it's amazing that an ex-president could live as long as he did and have such an impact. So yeah, good for you. Well, thank you, Wolf359. We appreciate that. Yeah, Greg Gumbel passed away too. Another loss. He did such a wonderful job.
Hey, Alec, I need to duck out for about 4 or 5.
You go.
All right.
You go.
Right back.
I will remove it. Yes, exactly. That's exactly it, Paul. We tie in Enterprise with TOS. We're kind of a bridge in a period, a lost era, if you will. Well, listen. Again, Kelvin universe is just a different universe. And in that universe, Kirk's a different person, Japham, how are you, my friend? Yes. By the way, I should. I'm just going to mention our Patreon's kicking ass these days. I hope you all enjoy it. If you're a member, I'm always posting stuff behind the scenes, VFX behind the scenes. I just posted some cool stuff about the makeup and the rotoscoping we're doing. So you can join for $2 a month. You don't have to spend 5 or 10 or 20. You can join for $2. Check it out. I think you will all enjoy it. Let me get back to the comments. Just trying to catch up with you all. Yes, agreed. God, John Tesla, will you take care of yourself? Oh my God, I'm sorry to hear you in the hospital again. We wish you the best, my friend. Thank you, One Horse Shay. We sooner or later, the USS Ares is going to be in canon Star Trek. I guarantee you. It may not be next year, and it may not be in 5 years, but it will be because there's a lot of people who love that ship. So we'll see. Also we let me get. I'm gonna have to change it. Listen, let me edit this because we now have our stores up and running. I am told that the t-shirt part of the clothing part now is working because we had some issues. We had a lot of issues integrating. Since we moved it here, let me. There you go. There's the Axanar store. Just go to the Axanar website, upper right-hand corner. It says store. Click on that. All the Axanar swag, Axanar clothing. Please check it out. Enjoy it. There's a lot of cool stuff. And we're going to be putting more stuff out in the days and months ahead. So there you go. Let us see. Let me see what else. So there you go. Oh, Dale's back. There you go, Dale.
Sorry.
Yeah, so, the other thing that we should talk about is headcanon, because I think headcanon is a wonderful thing because it allows you to include whatever you want in your canon, right? And that's what, listen, the Romulan War books, the Enterprise Romulan War books that I read, they were awesome. They even explain why the technology in TOS looks more primitive than the technology in Enterprise. They actually explain that they had to make it simpler to avoid the Romulan telepresence hacking. And I was like, oh, that's kind of funny. That's kind of cool. Oh, by the way, here you go. Dale, you'll appreciate this. One of my Christmas presents.
Nice.
Yeah, so if you don't know, Stanley cups, these are Stanley cups. They're like 30-ounce cups are all the rage, especially with the girls. And Crystal has like 3 of them. Crystal literally has a specially designed holder for Stanley cups. But anyway, so for Christmas, she got me, this is Pee-wee, my boy, who loves Dale. Anyway, so this is, I've got Diet A&W in here.
He obviously has great taste.
And and if we're going to have to get Axanar Stanleys. If you want a coffee tumbler with the USS Aries logo, they're on the Axanar store. So go to the Axanar store and order one. I think I finally got the postage figured out. And if anyone, I'm right now I'm working on 3D printed versions of the Axanar ships. That's one of the projects we're working on right now. So thank you. Yes, thank you. No, thank you for that, but no, I have not lost weight. I need to. Unfortunately, I'm hitting that old age thing where it's getting a little harder to lose weight. I'm basically, outside of when I dip down for filming purposes, I'm basically been the same weight for the past 30 years. I've weighed like 196 for 30 years, and I don't gain weight or lose weight easily. But I really need to be around 172. So I will lose weight, and then I will try not to blow away in a stiff breeze. But I thank you. I thank you, Jay, for that. And it's almost, it is, oh gosh, do they have anything live? Let me just see if we have anything here on, let's see if there's anything. Oh, yeah, I have to. Let me add this. It's so. Well, it doesn't give me a time. It's New Year. Happy New Year in Europe. It is now past midnight in Europe, so you're all just part of. We're peering into the future, if you will. There you go.
But is it an alternate future or is it our prime future?
It is our prime future. Yes, we are living in the prime universe. So there you go. So happy New Year, everyone in Europe. Let's see. Sean says he wants stories related to Enterprise B. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the Enterprise B, but hey, oh, by the way, have I gotten it here? Let me see. Where did I put it? Where did I put it? Didn't I put it up somewhere? Where is my book? I can show you. What did I do with it? Now I'm going to have to look for it. where my autograph book went. I actually have Alan Ruck's very first autograph he ever did at a Star Trek convention. On his very first autograph as Captain Harriman. It was the 2001 Las Vegas convention, which wasn't done by creation. That was done by another guy named Dave Scott, who wound up going to prison. But it was at that time it was a big convention, and Alan Ruck showed up, and I was like, he was setting up, and I was like, I walked over him. I said, Alan Ruck, I've never seen you at a Star Trek convention. He goes, no, this is my first one. And he put out his photos. I said, well, I'll be your first customer, and I paid him whatever. It was probably $20 to get an autograph, and he signed it. And so and I'm going to get it framed. Where did I put my book of autographs? Because I know I just
You'll find it next Tuesday.
Yes. Oh, there it is. Here, let me get it for everyone. And because I kind of misplaced this, and I found it when I was cleaning out stuff. I'm slowly trying to clean out stuff. So here's some. This is another one I had from that same. Everyone was there. So this is from Flashback. Of course, there's Tim Russ over here. Of course, Grace Lee Whitney. And I have to get Janeway's autograph on this because obviously I have George Takei. So what has happened? I got this. I got the photo, and I got Grace Lee Whitney's autograph. And I went to George Takei. This is before Russ autographed it. And this is the day. This is back in time. Nowadays, you get these Sharpies that are just brilliant. They're amazing. Back in the day, you didn't have sharp gold and silver colored Sharpies. You had what were called paint pens. And it was literally, you had to shake them and make sure that the paint came down to the tip, because when you opened it up, the tip was usually just natural, and you had to shake it and the paint would drop down. So I said, could you autograph it in silver? And I'm not sure if I had the pen and I gave it to him or if he had the pen, but he said, sure. And he takes it and he goes to shake it, and he shakes it over the photo. Oh. And it plopped like these big plops. This paint drops. And he goes, oh my. And so I said, I'll fix this. So I go back to Grace. I get another photo. I go back to Grace. I say, Grace. And she laughed and she said, no problem. And she signed it, and I gave it to George, and then he signed it, and he was an absolute gentleman. And I've met George because I met George behind the scenes at the 2015 San Francisco Creation Convention. And I got introduced to Adam, the very nice co-promoter of Creation. He knew me, and I said, George really helped us out by promoting our Kickstarter. And so he said, oh, I'll introduce you and everything. So after George got off the stage, I got to go back and thank George. I said, hey, I'm Axanar. I'm the guy from Axanar. You helped us so much. Thank you. And he was, and it was very nice. And we were talking about, we were talking about, he had been talking about the internment of the Japanese. Of course, he was interned in World War II. And so he was talking about the internment of the Japanese and just kind of as a civil rights issue. And then I went back we started talking. And he told me, the thing he told me about was that I didn't realize was that William, I want to say Brennan, was it Brennan, the chief, who was eventually Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, was the governor of California at the time that happened. I didn't know that. And so we were talking about it. So anyway, he's an absolutely lovely guy. And so anyway, I've got here, this is my book of all the autographs I've got, which I don't really collect autographs anymore. But during, back then, 25 years ago, I was collecting them, and I've got so many. And here we go. And here we go. There it is. That is the very first autograph Alan Ruck ever signed as Captain John Harriman, Enterprise B. So I am going to get that framed and put on my wall because it's really cool. Good story. The other good story is Julie Parrish. Remember her from Menagerie? She was the yeoman that when they beamed down, Kirk and Spock beam down to the starbase, and she's waiting for them, and they're like, "Oh, we're just replying to your communication." She said, "No one can send you a message from here." Anyway, saw her in like 1993. I was with Al Zakara, who's he's a geek guy. A lot of people. He worked for Master Replicas, Icons. A lot of people know him. And we were just hanging out at the convention, and she was there, and we're like, and of course, this is 93, so this is what, 25 years after that. She was probably in her 20s, in the 60s, and so she was in her probably her low 50s, and she was smoking hot still. And so we were like, oh my God, she's smoking hot. So we went over and got her autograph and chatted her up a little bit. So that was a great story. And then, of course, and another one of my one who's relevant now because everyone's talking about her is, of course, Robin Curtis. And I love this photo. I mean, who didn't have a crush on Robin Curtis when she popped up in Star Trek 3? I was like, oh, wow, that's one hot Vulcan. I was never a Christy Alley fan, but loved her. And then I was fortunate enough also to get Mark Leonard's autograph before he passed. So, yes, I got some good autographs, which I've put together in this book, Ricardo Montalban, whatever. And there you go. So I'm just talking. Yeah. So, yes, happy New Year, Ron Roden. Oh, really? Oh, should it? I'll have to check that out. Crystal's making dinner right now. She will be joining us for the East Coast edition of this. If you guys stay up late enough, at 11:30 East Coast time, we'll be back, and we'll be talking about Axanar and whatever, and how Discovery is still canon. Happy New Year there, Ian. Happy New Year to everyone in Europe. Let's have a great 2025. I think 2025 is going to be a great year for Axanar. Japham, I want to know. Yeah. Right. Hey, I'd love to see what you do. We'll put it on our website. Absolutely. I've been thinking of a Substack of just Axanar stories. Oh, good. William May wants to see more of the Enterprise C. Yeah, that would be great. Oh yeah, of course. I've Richard Hatch's I have his battle. As a matter of fact, it's in here because I obviously had him at. Let's see. Great thing about this autograph, right, of Aaron Eisenberg. I own that costume, which of course that's pretty significant. I've got this is a great one. When they started doing photographs more formally. This is about 10 years ago or so, and maybe earlier. Maybe this is like 2010 or so. But the great thing about this was called the DS9 family photo. So you got to take all three of them. And I got my photo taken with, they also had Nimoy and Kirk together, Nimoy and Shatner together. And that one was, you go in and they don't say hi to you, and they were talking, and you go in and they take whatever. This, when I got this photo taken, they had just taken, they have a line, so someone else is there, they take the photo, and they were like, bye. And Avery Brooks, he walked like 10 feet towards me, shook my hand, thanked me for taking the opportunity to take a photo with them, introduced me to Penny and Sarah. I mean, it was like literally like you were getting introduced to the family. So I have immense respect for Avery Brooks because of that, because he respects the fans. So whatever you hear, it just, and then I also got, I got him to sign a photo to me, which is awesome, because he doesn't do much these days. But asking about, here is my, Yeah, here's Dirk Benedict and Richard Hatch together. That was a great photo. And then, because we did a show with them. So yeah, I also have one from Axanar as well. And matter of fact, we're going to be releasing some Richard Hatch autographs on the Prelude to Axanar program. He signed a bunch of them, and they've been sitting downstairs for 10 years. And for this, as we release for Axanar, we'll be releasing them. And I think it's just such a fantastic item. So there you go. I would love to see your fanfic, of course. Yeah. Well, geez, I tell you, the stuff between him and Nimoy at the end of Star Trek 4 is just epic. That scene between the two of them is just phenomenal. But I'm a huge fan of Star Trek 4. All that Federation, all that planetside stuff in Star Trek 4, I thought was awesome.
And Gary Graham did a fantastic job with Soval.
Yeah, Gary was awesome. Gary, it's so funny. What did I run in? I saw him on Babylon 5. I was watching some Babylon 5 videos yesterday, and he was a telepath. They were talking about the telepath wars, and he was part of that. Yeah. So Gary was awesome as Soval.
He started off with that character being so hated, and then by the end of the series, he had come right around. It's like, wow,
I know,
what a character arc, and he played it perfectly.
Yeah. And they make copies of those off drive. You can absolutely get those. Yep, he was great in Alien Nation. Mm-hmm. That's it. Yeah. Well, listen, it was interesting. With all the Otoy stuff coming out, they people have been talking, and one Sam Witwer, who played Kirk in that what's called Resurrection, is that what's called? And it was interesting. He was saying what Sam said, what I thought was genius, was he said actors need to start getting 3D scanned. Mm-hmm. And what they need to do is every 10 years get scanned again. That way, if you're in a movie and they want to show an earlier version of you, they'll already have the scan of you as an earlier incarnation. And it'll be so much easier for them to use that with you acting, and then they can superimpose, just the way they do it. I was like, oh my God, that's such a brilliant idea. So
and they get residuals for that. They get paid for it.
Yes, they get paid for it, of course, because they're licensing your look. It's great. I agree. I agree.
Oh yeah, he said that when he went to the audition, and he thought the Vulcans were emotionless, and he's like, "Oh no, they have emotions. They're boiling over. They're just under the surface." He goes, "Oh, once I understood that, it was much easier to portray."
Right? Yeah, and it was Rick Berman who was the one who took him aside and told he pulled Rick aside and said, "Okay, help me understand these Vulcans." And it was Berman who did, and that really helped him. And you can see it. I mean, Gary is such a good actor because, portray when you act, it's not, you're not doing what you think someone in that situation would be doing. You really are supposed to be living that, whatever that is, whether it's the death of a loved one, or whether it's anger or whatever. You're not acting angry. Richard Hatch always said that when he went to acting school he said it was in Santa Monica. That was the acting school, one of the acting schools he went to. There was a sign over the doorway, and it said "No acting allowed." And he said, because, and this is what Richard helped me understand. What Richard Richard and Ted Brunetti, our wonderful director, really got me to get to be able to tap into, which I had no clue about when I started acting. And Richard was so good at it, was that you need to live that life, whatever that is. You need to dredge that shit up. Howard would always say, you need to dredge that shit up. And it's not fun and it's not easy sometimes, but it ain't about, and Howard would always say, acting costs you, because, you know, the emotion, no one wants to live through some of that shit that you're supposed to be portraying on screen, but you can't act that stuff. You've got to embrace that stuff and live it and find it within you, whether that is sense memory, as the Stanislavski school always talks about sense memory, or it's imagination, and as the Meisner school talks about, which is, and those two schools give you all the different tools. And this is where Uta Hagen, who was Ted Brunetti's mentor, and he was her right hand for years, would really talk about, is you have to have all those tools in your toolkit, because you may be tapping into emotions that you never lived. How are you going to deal with that? How are you going to deal with Sophie's choice? You've never lived that choice. You never had to make that choice. That's where Meisner comes in. So you have to be able to find the things and find the little elements that would contribute to that. And so there's more imagination than sense memory. But so, yeah, so it's a great thing. And I was fortunate to be incompetent at it for a long time. But having Ted Brunetti, and this is why so many of our actors love Ted Brunetti, right? As a director, he was so great, because he knew he's an actor himself. He knew it. He's been on Broadway. He's been in movies, and he could help the actors in ways that maybe a normal director wouldn't. I mean, we had directors on Axanar who were much more camera here, light here. I need you to do this. Ted was much more of getting the performance right. Mm-hmm. That's why we had Mark Edward Lewis handling the camera and the lights and making sure it was looking the way he wanted to for post. So yeah. But there you go. Yes, Gary was awesome as a Vulcan. He was great. And we were so fortunate to have Gary in Prelude, and then in the next two episodes of Axanar. And by the way, if you're new here and you don't know about our website or our YouTube channel, follow us. We're giving updates as we're in post-production on Axanar. We're looking to get it out this summer. A lot of good stuff's happening behind the scenes. I was working with Dana the other day. We went through the rotoscoping that he's working on, and it's just some of the stuff. I mean, some of the stuff was like, oh, I was really impressed with the work Dana was doing. And we went through the different, okay, are you happy with this? Are you happy with the Vulcan ears? Are you happy with, what do we, the Vulcan antenna on Thrall, who's the admiral, are different than the Vulcan antenna on Trask, who's the captain, right? Because we used Enterprise era ears on Trask, and we use TOS style ears on Thrall. Well, the TOS ears, as brilliant as they they came out there. I mean, they're basically resin, right? And painted, and they were just a little too fake looking. And so Dana's changing it in rotoscoping it in, softening lines, adding a texture, just brilliant stuff. So yeah, we're really excited about that. Yes. Let me tell you, as we enter 2025, knowing that Skydance is taking over, and we haven't talked to Skydance. We don't know what the future holds. All I do know is that they're a really sharp organization, and they care about fan engagement. And they are going to have a different attitude, I think, about fan films, about conventions, about fan engagement, about all of this than the current regime at CBS and Paramount, who I hope is jettisoned. I hope they jettison all everyone who was involved from top to bottom.
Out the airlock.
Out the airlock. Yeah, I listen, Kurtzman, and his group. That's not my concern. It's split. If one thing that's sad is it's split fandom, right? Which is a shame. I think let's face it, Prodigy doesn't split fandom. Lower Decks doesn't split fandom. Picard's only split fandom in the way that a lot of us thought seasons 1 and 2 sucked, right? That's not splitting fandom. That's basically putting out shit poor Star Trek. And then season 3 came along, and fandom generally was like, well, that's pretty good. That was pretty good Star Trek, right? We enjoyed it. They gave us all the nostalgia we wanted. But I didn't. Unfortunately, I hope that the next caretaker of Star Trek, whoever that is, hopefully they'll put someone in charge. And I'm not talking about like a Terry Matalas who would be a good showrunner. They need a Kevin Feige. They need a Dave Filoni. They need someone who can sit above it and say, look, here's what we need in Star Trek. I hope CBS, listen, I hope Skydance buys out the rights to Lower Decks and keeps it going, or does a movie of it, or whatever. I mean, Lower Decks is just phenomenal Star Trek in a very different way.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about us, right? And we love it because it's Mike McMahon and his team are giving us what we love. You love Lower Decks, right?
Oh, yeah.
And have you seen did you see the whole last season? Have you finished the last season?
No, I think I still have an episode or two to go.
Yeah, so you'll enjoy the last 2 episodes are really good, and and the series finale is as good a series finale as any Star Trek. Like, it makes you feel, it's got that whole best of both worlds, what you leave behind. It's like, wow, that I was almost tearing up at the end of season 5. I was like, it was brilliantly done.
It is. Yeah.
And it's that hopeful vision for the future that we like in Star Trek, right? Let's just, I'm going to get through some comments and then we're going to wrap it up because we got another show coming a little later on this evening. Yeah, I don't disagree, Jay. From that would, as a matter of fact, we need to write that. Someone needs to write that. Let us hope, right? Let us hope. I don't want to say more.
All right, Chester Cat.
Yeah, that's true. This is so. Yeah, I don't disagree with you here, Paul. All right, I don't think it was a great story. The whole thing. Oh, so I mean, I felt it was a little too far-fetched the way the Borg were going to take over, and then really, okay, all right, but all the next gen stuff was cool, right? So yeah, so it was fan service.
They got the band back together again.
Yeah, and they did it in a good way, and it was fun, and it was I just happened to see the scene between Geordi and Data where they're talking about friendship, and it was great. That was great. It was great stuff. So I think it kind of gave us what we wanted, even if it wasn't it was like, oh really? You're going to network all the ships so someone can hack in and change? Oh God! But okay, whatever. We got the goods. There's not going to be a comedy Star Trek. That ain't going to happen. Another bad idea by Kurtzman. I'm sorry. And listen, I've been a defender of Kurtzman. Simply, I don't know of anyone who's been a big defender who has not necessarily approved of Discovery, and Strange New Worlds and Picard, but basically said, listen, it's his show. He can do what he wants. Just stop trying to tell us this Prime Universe. Yeah, that's right. The Aries should be at the Fleet Museum. It was probably inside getting spruced up. Jeff says, I think Picard just got too ambitious with world building choices and couldn't even use them. And listen, the stuff between Picard and what's her name? The Bajoran. What's her name? My memory's failing me here. Who's the Bajoran who came onto the Enterprise?
Ro Laren.
Ro Laren. Thank you. The stuff between Ro and Kurt and Picard was acting gold. That stuff was brilliant. It was brilliantly written, brilliantly acted. That whole thing right there, I put that on the level with the Picard and Q scene from the end of season 2 as just like two of the best scenes in all of Star Trek. It was brilliant. It was because it was a story we understood. It tied into TNG, but it dealt with characters. It dealt with the people we loved. We loved Ro Laren. We loved Picard. We knew how Picard felt. And I thought that scene was just epic. And then she gives her life. I mean, I just thought that stuff was brilliant. Thank you. There, everyone's like, Ro Laren, you idiot. Hey, I'm about to turn 65 this year. So once in a while things short circuit. Yeah, I'm sure they retired it for the Fleet Museum. Right. That's where it is. So the next time Terry Metalis does the Fleet Museum, I want to see it. The idea of Q dying, okay, that was kind of interesting, I guess. But he's back, right? At the end, they kind of retcon that. And it's a shame that we're not going to get Legacy, and we probably will never get Legacy. That would be nice. Well, listen, we're going to wrap it up because it's now been an hour, and I'm going to go have dinner, and we're going to have some chicken teriyaki and hang out with the puppies and the ever-present cats, and get ready. We'll be back at 11:30. I don't know if you can stay up that late, Dale, but I'll be back at 11:30 for the East Coast New Year's countdown, which we'll definitely. I'll definitely find. I'm sure they have Andy and Anderson on YouTube somewhere. Hopefully those two guys are not too drunk this time. And
yeah, right.
Yes.
Sorry, started here.
Has it? Yeah. That's an interesting idea. Yeah, that's very cool. And on that, we're going to take it out. Hey, thanks for joining us tonight, everyone. Make sure you check out the Axanar store there, and we will see you at 11:30 East Coast time, and countdown towards midnight on the East Coast, and the ball dropping in Times Square where we were last week, and we'll have lots of fun. All right, everyone, live long and prosper, Dale, my friend. We'll chat with you later.
Take care.